The Egyptians believed that the king or pharaoh possessed divine powers and embodied the strength, vitality, and authority of God. His role was well defined as ruler of the nation. In spite of this, Egyptian women had a special place on the throne. First, they were guardians of the royal lineage. That is, most male heirs did not become pharaohs until after they married a princess of royal blood. In many cases, this meant that a young man married his full-blooded sister, as is depicted here in the union of the pharaoh Ahmose and his queen Ahmose Nefertari. Secondly, as we shall see in part 3 of this series in the case of Queen Hatshepsut, if a deceased pharaoh's legal heir was too young to rule, or the king left no male heir, then the queen was permitted to head the nation. The queens of Egypt played a vital role on the throne. A number of them rose to prominence from about 3000 BC to 1800 BC during the Old and Middle Kingdoms.
First dynasty, you have a woman known as Mernite. And according to W.B. Emery, Walter B. Emery, in a book called Archaic Egypt, it was published in 1965, he identifies her as a monarch, as a living heart. And she is the third or fourth ruler of dynastic Kemet. So Mernite is very important, but unfortunately, because of the antiquity of the time in which she lived, we don't know a lot about her. Her tomb seems to be one of the largest tombs in the first two dynasties. This is called the Archaic period or the early dynastic period. Now, in the fourth dynasty, you have a woman known as Queen Hetepheres. Now, she was not a monarch, but she was the wife of the man known as Nefertari, who commissioned two massive pyramids, and she was the mother of Khufu. Exactly. But when you get to the sixth dynasty, which is the last dynasty in what's called the Old Kingdom, the first golden age, you have a woman known as Nitocris, and undoubtedly that's her Greek name. Nitocris comes after Pepi II, who, as you know, had the longest recorded reign in world history, 94 years. She is described by Herodotus and others as the noblest, the loveliest, the most just woman of her time, and I believe Herodotus even goes as far as to say that the pyramid that is normally ascribed to Menkaure by Meister-Liddus is actually that of Nitocris. So she's very significant. Those are the women that stand out in the first several dynasties. Now after the sixth dynasty, of course you have what's called the first intermediate period. This is an age of social disorder and confusion. And then you have the 10th dynasty, in which a black king, once again from the south, moves up, conquers the two lands, northern and southern Egypt, and unifies Kemet for the second time that we are aware of in history. That is Nefertari-Mentuhotep, who reigned for 51 years. Now he had two great queens. One is Kawit, the other is Ashayet. Now, perhaps the most interesting thing here is that we know about Mentuhotep II largely because of this statue in the Cairo Museum, the black statue that portrays him in the divine color of ancient Kemet, the color of God, the color of divinity, the color black. But interestingly enough, his queens are also oftentimes portrayed in that same color. And I will draw your attention to a piece, I believe it's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, maybe in the Cairo Museum, that depicts both of these queens, Kawit and Ashayet, in that same divine color. We don't know much about them. The 11th dynasty, I may have said the 10th dynasty, but actually this is the 11th dynasty, lasts about 100 years. And it's a transitional period. But in the 12th dynasty, once again, you see women very, very, very powerful. You have, in particular, the last known monarch of Dynasty 12, a woman known as Sebek Neferu. She is the daughter of Amenemhet III.
While the goddesses and queens of Egypt have a very special place in history, it was the average woman of that land whose independence and respect surprised ancient foreigners and still baffle us today. The Greek writer Herodotus, whom some have called the father of history, has stated, "The Egyptians themselves in their manners and customs seem to have reversed the ordinary practices of mankind. For instance, women attend market and are employed in trade, while men stay at home and do the weaving." Of course, Egyptian men did more than weave, they weaved it all. They were pharaohs, governors, judges, doctors, priests, warriors, laborers, and so forth. However, Herodotus was struck by the role of women in Egyptian society, and well he should have been. For in his native Greece, women were very much confined to their homes. They rarely appeared in public, and had few if any rights and privileges men were bound to respect. As a matter of fact, in many instances, the parents of Greek girls arranged their marriages at an early age and paid a rich dowry for the honor. These young ladies received no mental or physical training, but were taught to spin, cook, to obey their husbands, and to otherwise remain quiet and modest. But for thousands of years, the Egyptian woman and her sisters in other parts of Africa enjoyed more legal rights and privileges than any other women of their time and than most women of today.
The family unit was the most ancient and cherished institution in Egypt. Young men were urged to take a wife as soon as they were able to support her financially. Egyptian literature is filled with love poems between young men and women who affectionately called each other brother and sister. One such young lady wrote the following to her lover.
My heart flutters hastily when I think of my love for you. It lets me not act sensibly. It leaps from its place. It lets me not put on a dress, nor wrap my scarf around me. I put no paint upon my eyes. I'm even not anointed with perfume.
The Egyptian woman was well loved and respected by her family. Although her spouse was the head of the house, she was indeed responsible for running the household.
They certainly controlled the hearth and the home, of course. They also controlled fields in many, many instances. The agricultural situation in Egypt, because the most important agricultural deities at first were women, Aset or Isis being the best example. We know that women had legal rights, independent legal rights. We know that children in ancient Egypt derived their names and therefore their legitimacy through their mothers and through the maternal line, and therefore took their names from their mothers, as we said.
An ancient elder left a record of sound advice for young Egyptian husbands. He wrote, "Do not control your wife in her house when you know she is efficient. Don't say to her, 'Where is it? Get it,' when she has put it in the right place. Let your eye observe in silence. Then you recognize her skill. It is joy when your hand is with her. If a man desists from strife at home, he will not encounter its beginning. Every man who founds a household should hold back the hasty heart. Do not go after another woman. Let her not steal your heart." Thousands of paintings depict interesting scenes of Egyptian family life. They show husbands, wives, and children eating, hunting, fishing, enjoying music, and traveling along the Nile together. Family stability seems to have prevailed throughout the long history of this nation. Sexual discrimination in employment appears to have been unknown in Egypt. Alongside men and with others of their gender, women ground corn, brewed beer, and baked bread. Women dominated certain professions. For example, most of the dancers, acrobats, and musicians were female. Women also held high positions in commerce and industry. This was especially true in the manufacturing of state textiles and perfume. Egyptians loved banquets and parties where married couples often socialized. Here is a typical dinner party at which women playing drums and flutes entertained their guests. The Egyptian pharaoh governed the nation on the basis of Mayat, a divine concept of law and justice. Under this system, women enjoyed equal status and civil rights with men. Women independently executed wills, witnessed documents, inherited, bought, administered and sold property, adopted children, and filed lawsuits. Scholars have traditionally held that Western law and jurisprudence had their origin in ancient Greece. This view is now open to debate.
As an attorney, I was very interested in the ancient Egyptian legal system. I was especially surprised to learn of the will of Lady Nanakte. As a result of that, I decided to engage in research on the will on my own.
Attorney Clegg, your trial has been continued over till tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
As a nation, Egypt predated Greece by thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians enacted many laws and created a very advanced legal system, which at various times included judges and juries. Recent research clearly demonstrates that the ancient Greeks derived much of their philosophy, science, architecture, religion, and medicine from the